Kitchener Centre.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I rise today to support Economic Action Plan 2014, which is a focused and admirable budget. Economic Action Plan, A Road to Balance, is focused on Canada's future. With 2015 in our sights, the Minister of Finance has crafted a budget to deliver job creation, economic growth, and low taxes, leading to a balanced budget in 2015. Now, the last 5 years have certainly not been easy on Canadians. The global economic recession drastically affected the Canadian economy. Our government worked hard to fight the worst global economic turmoil in almost 80 years by delivering a stimulus package which created Canadian jobs, built infrastructure, and kept us internationally competitive. And this government succeeded spectacularly. I'm proud to say that Canada is now one of only a handful of countries in the world that continues to receive a AAA credit rating with a stable outlook from all rating agencies. Amazing. Canada has the best job creation record of all G7 countries, with over 1 million net new jobs created since 2009. The OECD has forecast that Canada will outpace the rest of the G7 in growth over the next 50 years. Our financial sector is flourishing. The head of the International Monetary Fund noted that Canada is, quote, a country with one of the strongest financial sectors in the world. Canada can teach the rest of the world about how to build a stronger, safer financial system, end quote. Mr. Speaker, our Prime Minister gets it. Our Finance Minister also gets it and has delivered a strong, stable, and fiscally responsible budget for all Canadians. I'll highlight several aspects of the budget that affect Ontario, and in particular, my constituents in Kitchener Centre. And these are strong reasons to support the budget. The government continues to support innovation in Canada year after year, and Budget 2014 is no exception. Since 2006, the government has delivered almost $11 billion in new resources to support scientific research. In 2013 alone, the government's support for innovation exceeded $3 billion for research and post-secondary education. Economic Action Plan 2014 will create the Canada First Research Excellence Fund, with $1.5 billion in funding over the next decade. And this will help Canadian post-secondary institutions excel globally in research that provides long-term economic benefits. Our post-secondary institutions in Waterloo Region will continue to excel as leaders in innovation and research. Now, Canadians have long been leaders in quantum research. The University of Waterloo's Quantum Research Department will receive $15 million in funding over 3 years, beginning in 2014. Most excitingly, Mr. Speaker, this budget seizes the opportunities of the open data world. $3 million over 3 years will be provided to the Canadian Digital Media Network for the creation of the Open Data Institute through FedDev Ontario. With advancing technology, it's possible to sort and filter data to identify opportunities for new products and services. Now, this initiative will be spearheaded by the network, but it will be a collaborative effort with partners which include Waterloo Region's own Desire to Learn, Open Text Corporation, Communitech, and the University of Waterloo. Mr. Speaker, my constituents are concerned about finding jobs. They also want to make sure that they find the right jobs for their skills. That's why this budget will create the Canada Apprentice Loan, which will deliver to apprentices in Red Seal trades access to over $100 million in interest-free loans each year. Now, the government will also launch a job matching service, which will automatically match Canadians looking for work with employers looking to hire them. This enhanced job matching service will provide job seekers with modern tools to find jobs that match their skills and will provide employers with better tools to look for qualified Canadians. And the budget starts with $11 million over 2 years for this and adds $3.3 million per year ongoing to launch this enhanced service. I'm proud of the efforts of women in my community, Mr. Speaker, the entrepreneurs, the executives, and the professionals. And Budget 2014 is going to deliver $150,000 across the country to increase mentoring among women entrepreneurs. Now, Kitchener has its fair share of dynamic young women entrepreneurs in companies like Pebble, Thalmic Labs, Charity Republic, and Mapped In. But despite these success stories, women are significantly underrepresented as a proportion of small business owners. And this budget meets that challenge. Hear, hear. Mr. Speaker, I meet too many talented young individuals graduating from university who are not able to find good employment quickly. So Budget 2014 is going to reallocate $15 million annually towards up to 1,000 internships for recent post-secondary graduates in small and medium-sized enterprises through the Youth Employment Strategy. Mr. Speaker, I want to mention the Working Centre in downtown Kitchener, which I'm very proud of, and it helps many people find work. Earlier this year, I attended an older workers forum there and spoke with people whose skills need to be updated to find employment in a changing workplace. And the targeted initiative for older workers, which is run out of the Working Centre as well as other Kitchener institutions like Luther Wood and Conestoga College, helps older workers to update their skills. Budget 2014, I'm very pleased to say, renews the TIOW program for another 3-year period, representing a federal investment of $75 million. It's very good news for my community. Mr. Speaker, as the longest-serving member of the Parliamentary Committee on the Environment and Sustainable Development, I'm proud of this government's investments in Canada's natural heritage. Hear, hear. I'm happy to say that Economic Action Plan 2014 allocates another $391 million over 5 years to Parks Canada for improvements to bridges and dams in our national parks hear, hear. And along our historic canals.
Great news.
Mr. Speaker, my constituents enjoy recreational fishing. And with the Grand River winding majestically through the city and the wonderful Great Lakes within driving distance, we all benefit from healthy, natural waterways. And this budget is going to double the annual funding to the Recreational Fisheries Conservation Program. It'll provide an additional $15 million over the next 2 years. This is great news for the Grand River Conservation Authority, great news for those who enjoy fishing. Finally, Mr. Speaker, we need to talk about families. For an ordinary family of 4, the tax burden since 2006 has been cut by close to $3,400 each year. And this gives individuals and families greater flexibility to make the choices that are right for them. Further help for families is going to come in this budget through the investment of $44.9 million over 5 years to expand the focus of the National Anti-Drug Strategy. Also, the budget is going to deliver an increase in the maximum amount of the adoption expense credit by allowing $15,000 for further tax relief in recognition of the costs unique to adopting a child. The budget will also permit Canadians leaving a defined benefit registered pension plan to receive a payout equal to the lump sum value of their pension benefits and other beneficial changes. Canadians need to know that this country is succeeding economically. The OECD thinks so, Fortune 500 companies think so, our friends in the G7 think so, the world's lenders think so. In fact, the only people who don't want to admit that Canada is doing well are the members opposite, who would prefer to see the government spending more of Canadians' hard-earned money. But the government is not going to do that today. Mr. Speaker, I stand proud of the Government of Canada and its plan. I stand proud of Economic Action Plan 2014 and our current path to balancing the budget. I urge all members of the House to put aside their partisan interests and support the best interests of all Canadians. Support this budget. Thank you.
Well done.
Questions and comments? Question et commentaires. L'honorable député de Beauport.
The Honourable Member for Beauport-Limoilou. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And I would like to thank my colleague for his very lyrical speech, but I'd just like to bring him back down to earth because he does have to deal with reality at some point. It's quite appalling to see announcements being made to correct the errors of this government that it has made everywhere. So let's talk about reality. I had the privilege of sitting on the Finance Committee, and the Parliamentary Budget Officer confirmed that the 1 million net new jobs created had absolutely nothing to do with the actions of this government in recent years. Neither should we forget that the tax cuts for large companies artificially created the largest debt ever shouldered by the federal government in Canada, and that money was simply a waste. It was $1 billion of waste, because the Department of Finance showed very clearly that for each dollar spent, there were not even 40 cents worth of spin-off. So this was very poorly invested money. And now the Minister of Finance, well, a few years ago, supported our idea of regulating banking fees, but he didn't follow up on that. He just put in place a voluntary system. So I'd like to ask my colleague how he continued to boast about all these things, whereas we have clearly seen that this government has not been solving the real problems that cost Canadian families dearly.
The Honourable Member for Kitchener Centre.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. The reality is that our colleagues on the opposite side paint a very bleak kind of Walking Dead picture of Canada and its economic prospects. And it really is a kind of a dark fantasy world that it's necessary for us to dispel so that Canadians at home know that actually this government is doing fantastic work and this country is really quite healthy. So I'd like to just add a drop of truth, which, like a drop of detergent, will dispel the oily slick that the opposition tries to put out to Canadians. And I'll just provide a couple of interesting comments about this budget for my friends, for my colleagues' consideration. The Canadian Chamber of Commerce has said the government has acted. The result will be a stronger economy and more jobs. The Canadian Federation of Independent Business says small business owners know that today's deficits are tomorrow's taxes, so they're pleased with the government's commitments to a balanced budget in 2015. And let me close with one more in particular from Engineers Without Borders, Mr. Speaker. EWB welcomes the government's decision to protect vital foreign aid spending in Budget 2014. We're proud that Prime Minister Stephen Harper chose to maintain current levels of foreign aid spending. Canada's recent commitment to the
Order. Well, the member's been in the House long enough to know that he can't use the personal name, whether it's of the Prime Minister or of any other member of the House. Questions and comments? The Honourable Member for Kingston and the Islands.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker. First, as this is a chamber of debate, I'd like to respond to a request made by the last two speakers from the Conservative Party who asked the opposition members to vote for the budget. And what I would say is that the reason why Liberals are not voting for this budget is because we know that we could produce a much better budget, and we'd be betraying what we believe in if we did that. My question is about the James Clerk Maxwell telescope, Mr. Speaker, and I think because the member is from the Kitchener-Waterloo area, he may know about this telescope. It's a telescope that Canadians have worked on for many, many years. It's a world-class instrument, and Canada's put millions of dollars into this telescope. It needs roughly only $700,000 a year to continue operation until about 2019, when a new telescope will take over. And my question is, given that the government has announced this Canada First Research Excellence Fund, which, by the way, this telescope is not eligible for, whether my honourable colleague from the Kitchener area would join me in asking the government to find a way to fund Canadian astronomers using this telescope for the next few years.
Member for Kitchener Centre, you have about 30 seconds.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. That probably only gives me time to comment on my colleague's remarks that the Liberals would present a better budget, because as I understand it, the Liberal leader's idea of a better budget is simply to say, well, it'll balance itself. This is, Gads, this is a reemergence of voodoo economics in the 21st century in Canada, which I think that my friends should be blushing to hear his leader say.
Resuming debate, reprise de débat, the honourable member for